I saw a beam of light everywhere, like massive beam of light, but there's only few. And then the moment I saw those beam of light, I thought to myself, the rapture is here.
It's like in the corner of her eyes, seeing like a little boy or like a little ghost going to one of the rooms.
It's a journey in the self too, because you find your intuition and discernment. But we gotta realize that there's duality here.
The light started like flicking off and on. So it was like a toddler, like a 5-year-old or 4-year-old.
When you see that there's darkness, Satan exists, or that there's evil on earth, or that there's actually demons or whatever. I think it's a frequency war altogether, really.
Welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to Apocalyptic Anomalies, where we shine light on the shadows to unlock all the secrets of our universe. I'm your host, Abner J. Valdez. If you have a crazy experience or story you want to share on the show, email me at apocalypticanomalies@gmail.com. That's apocalypticanomalies@gmail.com. Or you can hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. Either way works for me. Just get in contact with me. Today on the show, we have Matt Landman. He comes on the show and talks to us about his documentary, FrankenSkies, what is going on in our skies, how we can protect ourselves from toxins, and how we can have a better future. Let's get into the show right now. Sit back and enjoy the show. It's nice to finally meet you, man. How's everything?
Yeah, thanks. It's going good.
Cool, man.
Going really good. Thank you. I've been trying to continuously be an activist, so it's like,
Yeah.
you got to keep on trying, and it's not always successful, right?
Yeah.
But a couple things recently have happened that were good. Last night I went on, Coast to Coast AM.
Coast to Coast.
Big radio show.
I feel like I've heard about that. Is that like a radio station or a podcast?
Yeah, it's AM radio.
AM radio.
It's nationwide. It's it's a really big show, and I've been lucky to go on it.
Wow.
A bunch of times. Last night I went on it. It's like a late night radio show. It's a couple hours long, and it's live. There's callers, which is really cool.
That's cool, man.
And last night was my 7th time going on it, so that was like a big. I mean, I can't believe that even the first time I went on was a big deal, but I can't believe that. And then another thing that's exciting is I just got back from Scotland.
Wow.
There was a protest, and they invited me to come be like the main speaker in this protest against chemtrails, and that was like,
wow, man,
that was
so
pretty exciting. And they're
That's
having
great.
another one. And I'm probably going to be going back to that, and so it's like with activism, you just have to keep
pushing it.
Keeping your head up and believing that you got God on your side, basically.
Yeah, man, I'm a strong believer in God as well. My faith is strong, and I'm glad that you feel the same way. That's great that we have like-minded people in this world, man, because we need that. So I'm gonna go ahead and this is just my cue to get started. So today on the podcast we have Matt from FrankenSkies documentary. Before we get started, Matt, can you tell people where they can find you and your work?
Yes. Thanks for asking. So as an activist, I wear many hats. My first passion was anti-chemtrails. And when I got into it, I didn't realize that it was going to become like this normalized thing. Now geoengineering is being posed as a solution to global warming. It's becoming really mainstream. Yeah. When I first got into it, I thought it was just going to remain this conspiracy theory that nobody was really comfortable talking about. And I was going to be trying to sound the alarm and raise awareness on this thing that I was shocked nobody really knew about it. I grew up in the DC area. Oh man, I'm talking a lot, but
That's
I'll just
right.
give my little.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I grew up in the DC area, and like all my friends, I wasn't even like that. I wasn't into, any of it, horoscopes or astrology or crystals or none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not that guy still, but I never thought I, would go down that rabbit hole and be the conspiracy chemtrail guy. But I ended up, once I learned about something and realized that no one else knew about it, it became my passion. And so I really started with chemtrails, but then it bled into a lot of things. So I've got FrankenSkies.com.
Yep.
Is a great place to watch the movie. We'll talk about the movie.
Yes.
Also, FrankenSkies2.com. I'm working on a sequel, FrankenSkies 2 Climate Chains.
Excited for that.
Like
That's
shackles.
new.
Yeah.
That's news to me, so that's great.
Yeah, we can talk about it. It'll be a little bit till it comes out, but
Yeah.
I'm excited that that's in the works. And then my baby is Actual Activists. Actualactivists.com is like my brand. I got Actual Activists on Instagram. And that's been like, the story behind that was I couldn't find anywhere on the internet that had all the truths, in one spot, like the main ones, like GMO foods bad, the inoculations, are toxic. This was like pre-COVID, when I was getting into all this.
Yeah.
Fluoride and chemtrails, like the main topics, you know what I mean? And I couldn't find it. It was all spread out all over the internet, and I wanted there to be like a one-stop shop place for people to come and be able to like find those resources for the main topics.
Yeah.
So I created actualactivists.com, and on there I have a daily blog. I call it a daily truth, and that's been my baby forever. And my movie lives there, and there's so much information there. Anybody can learn something there. And
That's
then
great.
also, when I became an activist, I never realized that this was going to become like my complete life. And, chemtrails doesn't really pay the bills. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but God had a plan for me. And I ended up learning about EMF radiation and smart meters and 5G and all that. And I didn't want to be a victim to it all, because with the chemtrails, you kind of just have to be, in a way, not really a victim, because you can be an activist and take health into your own hands and, mineralize and rise above it and all that sort of stuff. And, share the truth with your friends, family, and peers, and raise the vibration, raise consciousness and all that sort of stuff. But in a way, because it's about, 30,000 feet or whatever. And I mean, with GMO food, you can pick the food you're going to eat. Fluoride, you can get the filter or whatever and all this sort of stuff. There's, things that you can do about certain things. But chemtrails, you kind of just have to be a victim to it in a way. But with EMF radiation and 5G, I was like, I'm not trying to be a victim to this one, man. It's like, they're going to put a cell tower on my block or whatever it's going to be. I'm not going to just get radiated. So I created this EMF protection clothing line once I realized that there was a fabric that existed, and I dove into this head first, and I created this line. It's like 2018 when it came to fruition, and the name of the company is called Spero, Spero, like the Latin word I hope. Spero means I hope, like esperar. In Italian, Spanish, it means I hope or to hope. But Spero is the name of the company. And then SparrowGear.com or Sparrow Gear on Instagram. And Sparrow Gear is my EMF line. And then FrankenSkies@gmail.com is a good way to reach out to me.
That's amazing.
But the EMF clothing line, it really it became something. And that's a whole story. And that's worth talking about. And it's inspiring because now I've made my passion, which is activism and truth, into my life. Like I don't work for anybody else. So I just work for myself, and I even have an employee. And it's
that's great, man. That's what a journey, right? And it's just begun, right?
Kidding.
So that's amazing. So I got a couple questions here for you. I'm gonna start with the first one that I had written down. What made you want to make the documentary? Like, what brought you to that point to like, I have to do this? What made you do it?
So yeah, good question. So like I said a second ago, I grew up in the DC area, and becoming a chemtrail activist, I lost most of my friends. I got like one friend that was still willing to, believe in me and know that I was never crazy before. So why would I, you know what I'm saying? But when I came to the realization that this was going on, that chemtrails existed, I started doing this digging in the rabbit hole, and I wanted to find some resources to share it with people and be like, hey, did you know this is going on? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all the resources that I could find, they weren't good enough to share with my people back home. Right? So I got I'm from the East Coast. A lot of my friends work government jobs or whatever. They're from DC, right? And you can't just share a meme with them, or you got to give them some grounded documented research.
Yeah.
And the movies that existed, the activists that existed in the space, you know, later I learned about controlled opposition and things like that. And not everyone is that necessarily, and that's not necessarily the motive behind it not being good enough in my eyes. But at the time, I found in the space where the chemtrail activism was, there wasn't any resources good enough to share with my grandmother, with my friends, with my family, with my coworkers.
Yeah.
Nothing was there. And what it is, and this could be by design or accidental, but it's this, I don't know if you've heard this, this is old timer, my old deadhead friend turned me onto this. This is like an old word, this old time word. So you might not know about this. It's called the turd in the punch bowl effect, right? You ever heard
No,
this?
I haven't heard of that. Go ahead.
Turd in the punch bowl, man. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's like you have this amazing party, right? Everybody's having a great time. Everything's perfect, except for there's this turd in your punch bowl, in your punch, right? People are going to they're like drinking the punch. They're going to be disgusted. Yeah. They're going to remember that forever. And that's all they're going to remember.
Yeah.
Right?
Remember that time?
So in these movies, this is what they do. They'll fill it with this information, chemtrail information, but then somewhere in there, there'll be something that makes them look crazy. And it's that point where my people back home will turn off the TV, or they'll be like, Matt, you're crazy. This person just, whatever it is, whatever it is. And what it was in the chemtrail world was these, I went to Virginia Tech, I went to business school, and then I went to California, tried to go to film school. Oh, wow. And I ended up getting a master's in business from Cal State Humboldt. And I got a film degree, and that's how I was able to do the film. It was a long journey.
Congratulations, man. That's amazing.
Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it. But when I got the master's in business, I was just getting student loans, trying to figure out my life. I was just continuing my education and keep going to school, American dream, right? Yeah. I'm glad I ended up being able to make the movie.
I know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, what I learned in school, one thing was the difference between a causal relationship and a corollary relationship. Like a corollary relationship is what people don't grasp this either, which is important and fascinating. So a corollary relationship is like every time I wear my shoes, it rains. You know what I mean? And it must be because I wear my shoes that it's raining. And it's like, well, let's document this. Every time you wear your shoes, it rains. Every time, and then eventually, it's not. It doesn't add up because you don't wear your shoes and it rains, or you wear your shoes, it doesn't rain, whatever. And then the relationship is not. It's not a causal relationship. The fact that you're wearing shoes doesn't cause the rain. It was just a corollary coincidence, and then the statistics, spoke for themselves. Mm-hmm. It's like statistics can speak, right? So in this chemtrail documentaries and stuff before, when I was researching it and stuff like that, there would be these corollary relationships. Like people would be like, look, my bush died. And then they'd be like, see, the chemtrails there's a lot of chemtrails in the sky. Mm-hmm. That's just a corollary relationship. You can't prove that that's causal. And people from where I grew up are going to just turn the TV off. That's the best turd in the punch bowl that I could come up with at this time. But there's things where people act crazy. Even the word chemtrails, it was like, that's the crazy word. Don't use the crazy word.
Yeah, don't use it. You're crazy.
Yeah, it's geoengineering. That's the fancy word.
Whoa,
and
that's too far, man. You get me?
Right.
Yeah.
It's true. So it's like it's psychological programming, mind control, and even the terminology and the words. I mean, all of it is controlled. And I do believe that the activism and whatnot, it's controlled. Like imagine you got all the money in the world and you're trying to control humanity. Like who's behind? Like people ask all the questions like who, why, where, when, how, all that stuff. Like who's behind it? A lot of the who is NASA with a budget of $80 million per day. So this organization with a budget of $80 million per day, and we don't even know, taxpayers don't even know what they're really doing with it. They have a whole program of chemtrails spraying, all this stuff, drones doing all this spraying. And if we knew what was up, we would be protesting it.
Right.
So if they got $80 million a day, they can throw a couple $1 million at controlling some activists and being the activists in the space.
Right.
Make the chemtrail word look all grimy and make the chemtrail people look crazy. Even hire some people to go on the streets of LA with chemtrail signs and look crazy and homeless and be crazy people. Like literally, I literally think that they hired people to go into major cities and be crazy people, you know, with like truth posters and shit and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So long story short, or short story long, like I literally like, did not think that anybody had done a good enough job. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to make a movie myself, right? But I never wanted to be like on the front lines, because first of all, like I'm probably like yourself, like I'm kind of not shy but reserved, and I'm not trying to like be that. But then eventually you're like, I gotta do something, you know what I mean? Because the world is messed up, and you got to be some sort of voice and be an example and all this sort of stuff. So I started making the movie behind the scenes. I never wanted to be in the movie. I never wanted to narrate the movie. I was like, I'm not narrating the movie. I'm not that guy. I hate narrators and documentaries and all that stuff. I didn't end up narrating the movie, but my friend who helped edit the movie, she ended up plugging me in there in the end for just a minute.
Yeah, I saw that.
And and it is what it is. But like, and that'll be the same thing in the next movie. I'll just be in there for a minute. Yeah. Probably this speech is in Scotland or something or whatever. But then I started hosting conferences because I started trying to get together the activists in the space. And a lot of them ended up being like herding cats. Like not everybody was who they said. And my biggest accomplishment was in 2000. So I hosted the first Global Chemtrail Summit in Vancouver, Canada in 2016. And I was trying to get the activists together just to film them. But it ended up being a huge success. We packed the house in this conference hall.
Wow.
And it was great. And so the next year I tried to do it again in Portland, Oregon, and not as many people showed up, but it was still successful because I got really aggro and gave this pissed off speech, and that was what was in the movie. And so that ended up being good. And then the next year in 2018, I moved down to Arizona, and in Arizona, in Tucson, Bill Gates was doing this like funded experiment to dim the sun. It was this whole thing. Through this Harvard researcher, David Keith. And the thing that was going to happen was they were going to spray aluminum aerosols in the sky over the desert in Tucson, Arizona, through balloons, and see if they could reduce the temperatures and dim the sun over Tucson. And we had this whole protest. We had a conference, packed the house. I went on Coast to Coast AM for the first time, and everybody heard and they came. It was huge. Nice. Like I got up in this conference hall and I was like, who here's from Arizona? Nobody was from Arizona. It's crazy. Tucson's like Arizona, like totally Arizona. And so then we had a protest on Mother's Day for Mother Earth in Tucson. And we had a concert, and this hip hop artist, Homage, came. He's got this awesome song, Digital Clouds.
Wow.
And he's got a lot of other stuff, but Digital Clouds is his cool chemtrail song, which I highly recommend people checking out. And we brought awareness to the fact that not just that chemtrails are already ongoing, but that this weird experiment through Bill Gates was trying to happen. And the environmental groups came out, and that people found out, and they didn't do the experiment. It was a big success.
That's great, man.
Yeah, it was great. But then since then, it's been primarily just like, what was the question? Why did I do
why'd you do the documentary? What made you do it? But that's okay. You're answering it, man. Yeah. This is what this is about, you know? Continue on
so
your
it
path,
became
brother.
a journey, right? It became more than just the movie. I thought I was just going to make this tool. I wanted something, because look, these rabbit holes are crazy. You get down different directions. There's truths and mistruths, and there's even lies and controlled oppositions and stuff. And what you end up doing on this journey is it's a journey in the self too, because you find your intuition and discernment in your gut. Yeah. Really, it's like your street smarts, right? It's like you're walking down the street and there's some crazy homeless guy like waving a gun in the air. You know, you got this street smarts enough to like not walk by the person because you got this knot in your stomach. There's variations of that knot in your stomach, and it can evolve into, you know, knowing when to put your seatbelt on or stop speeding or whatever because there's a cop right there, or whatever it is. But also it's the rabbit holes too. You can like literally see through the lies when you refine your gut discernment and all that, and everyone has their own journey. But with the chemtrails and these different topics, it's a lot better if they can just sit down and watch a freaking documentary, you know? So like my mom and these people, so chemtrails was kind of scattered and nobody had anything that was super grounded. But FrankenSkies, it starts in 1920s and goes through the whole history, chronological timeline of how weather modification and weather engineering, geoengineering was perfected, you know? So I wanted something that everyone could watch. And I had no idea that. So then really quick, I'll tell the story. Yeah. I was trying to get the movie out and it was like all these things were getting in the way and I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. I really wanted the movie to be out in like 2016. And then in 2017, the media came out and was like, we've got 12 new clouds. They introduced these new clouds that were all look like chemtrails. And then they said, we've got this idea called geoengineering, spraying aerosols in the sky to dim the sun. And so this concept came out. It's this classic Hegelian dialectic problem, reaction, solution, where we're given the problem.
That's okay.
Where what's going on right now is heat waves are being created with geoengineering. And then we're told that the planet is heating with heat waves and therefore we have a problem, right? But the problem is actually being created. They're engineering the problem. The reaction is we're in fear because the media is like, be worried, be very afraid, ice caps melting, whatever. The solution they're posing is actually the problem, which is geoengineering. They say, we're going to dim your sun. We're going to spray the sky and block the sunlight.
We need
just going to create a greenhouse
Everything
effect.
that lives needs sunlight, man. You know?
Yeah, no kidding.
Crazy.
So, yeah, it's a lot, but it became a journey, and now at least people can sit down and watch FrankenSkies and be introduced to chemtrails in kind of a grounded fashion, and then they can go down the rabbit hole on their own from there. But I think the movie alone has been to answer your question, I wanted people to have a reliable resource on this topic, and it was kind of scattered, and I don't think it existed at the time.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you were able to pursue your mission and allowing us to see what you saw, you know, because I saw a documentary and it's very compelling. I can't believe that, you know, this whole time they make it seem like it's some type of good thing for us, right? Oh, we're just trying to figure this out, or like, hey, check this out. And from the 1920s all the way to the end, it's like they've been plotting it the whole time. And that's what they do, you know, to try to control us, to try to dim our light, you know. And like I said earlier, everything needs sunlight, you know. Plants need sunlight. Why are they trying to block the sun, you know? And you can go deep into these rabbit holes, you know, from, I don't know, it started for me with a dollar bill fell out of my pocket and I saw a pyramid in the back of the dollar bill. And for me, I was like, why is there a pyramid behind the dollar bill if we live in America, you know? So I started looking into those words, New World Order, what does this mean, right? And it just trickled down from there, rabbit hole and rabbit hole, right? And I've heard about chemtrails, and I've seen it ever since I was a kid. I would see a lot of like lines in the sky, and I always thought that was just the airplanes and the fuel, right? I'm like, oh, they're just flying across the sky, whatever, you know. But come to find out, you know, over the years, you keep seeing things, and you know. And then seeing the documentary really opened my eyes to everything, how it started from way back then, how they can just create anything, clouds, rain. They want to make it rain somewhere, they make it rain, you know. It's crazy, man. It's insane, you know. But
did you hear about the recent?
Go ahead.
Did you hear about the recent rain in Dubai? How the Dubai was flooded in the desert?
Man. Oh man, what can you tell us about that? You know, I did hear about that.
So Dubai in the United Arab Emirates in the desert, they had this crazy flooding over the past couple of weeks, and they're saying it's because they engineered the rain, and so it's now becoming like mainstream that you can make it rain, right? So like, what's up with that, right? Yeah. Why are they telling people that they can make it rain? Like whatever you hear in the media, you got to think, why am I being told this? Like everything that comes onto your plate, whether it's Yahoo News or the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, like people don't grasp that like all these businesses got bought up by some corporation.
Yeah.
Like Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, he bought the Washington Post, right? It's a big newspaper, right?
Nah.
And now the Washington Post like doesn't talk smack about millionaires. It did before, but right after they got bought out, now they don't. It's like the corporate interests dictate the media, you know, to tell you what to think. So why is now the media telling you that there's weather engineering, and why are they opening up this conversation? It's because it's becoming more, I think it's because they're normalizing and disclosing this whole concept of, you know, weather by design, and you know, that basically it's leading to this whole sun dimming thing. I don't know if everyone knows, but on April 2nd, this is like a couple of weeks ago, just outside San Francisco, the first ever sun dimming experiment happened in secret. Like the thing that I was trying to protest with Bill Gates in Tucson, they did it a little differently outside of San Francisco, but they sprayed, supposedly they claim right now they're trying salt, but we all know they're going to end up using aluminum because that's what they've been doing. But they sprayed salt and whitened the sky and say that they are working on a way to dim the sun to save us from it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
And really quick, I don't want you to lose your thought. I probably interrupted you, but I want to say one more thing. You were talking about how you thought it might be jet fuel before. Mm-hmm. I was tripping on this just the other day because how old are you, by the way?
33.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's my girlfriend's age. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, she's born 1990.
Yeah.
So, I was tripping on 9/11 the other day because I was. That's the only reason I asked, because during 9/11, like my girlfriend lived in New York and I lived in DC, and it was like I was really impacted. I was glued.
Man,
to
I must have been in sixth grade when that happened.
Yeah. I'm a little older than you guys.
It's okay. You don't gotta disclose it.
No, it's cool. I'm 43. So 1980s when I was born. So
we could edit that out, don't we?
no, please. It's good. I don't care. I'm an open book, bro. Like I'll tell, like I had like a near-death experience. I tell crazy stories on my shows. I don't care at all. Like I'm all as real as I can possibly be. So the whole world got completely programmed and brainwashed to think that there's a lot of jet fuel in planes, and that it just burns hot because jet fuel took down those buildings in 9/11. Like 9/11, I remember watching it live, and people were jumping out the windows because the buildings were burning so hot. Little did I know it was probably thermite or whatever, and or scalar, whatever it was. It wasn't jet fuel that they were, getting cooked by.
That's sad, man. It's like,
you know what I'm saying? Like you've gone down the 9/11 rabbit hole.
Yeah,
I'm imagining by now. Like that's one of the.
Can't believe it, man. I can't believe they do that to our own people. Like they don't care.
Yeah,
just to kind of prove a point or show you what we can do. Or start a war. Oh, it's because of they have natural resources or whatever it was, or terrorist attacks or whatever they made it seem like it was. But it's like, why do that to our own people, man? And
yeah,
you could
really
go down
sad.
that rabbit
really
hole,
what they do.
Sacrifices and all that stuff. It gets crazy, man. So, but
yeah, but we got to realize that there's duality here, and this is the process here, right? When you see that there's darkness, like you realize that there's that Satan exists, or that there's evil on earth, or that there's actually demons or whatever. And these are like dirty words to people. You don't want to like think about these things. You want to think that there's angels.
Yeah.
Like, my mom, she believes in angels, but not demons. It's like, I know that's cool, Mom, but we live in duality, and there's both, And when you know that there's one, and then you got to know that there's the other, but then by knowing that there's both, you get to pick a side, right? And then that's like the whole process. And that's why the devil likes to hide itself, because if everyone knew that there was a devil, of course they picked the other side. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like nobody wants to be on the side of the devil unless they got tricked.
Right.
But so like after 9/11, like imagine how many times we heard the word jet fuel. Jet fuel, jet fuel, jet fuel. Like that plane was going to LA, it was full of jet fuel. It hit the building, whole building went down because of all the jet fuel, and firemen and like, I mean, they did it to our own people. It's traumatizing. And this is trauma-based mind control, like literally trauma-based mind control by definition. And all of us just blindly accept that those planes were full of hot jet fuel.
Yeah, man.
And that jet fuel just burns all hot up there, and that's what we see.
It was those damn terrorists. They're the ones. They're the bad guys. It's like, when you get older, you're like, are they really the bad guys? You know, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, no, it's wild what 9/11 did to. I mean, if it just so there's a documentary called Loose Change. There's a couple versions, but if you can find the first version of it, I think it's called Loose Change Second Edition or something like that. I mean, it's like the OG version. I mean, that one's really good by Dylan Avery, and it breaks it all down. I mean, that's America changed, right? Like we didn't even look at each other the same after all that. But before that big shift, there wasn't. You know, like as there wasn't that big divide in racism in the American public. Yeah. I mean, like it wasn't like that. It wasn't there. Like nobody cared if you were from the Middle East or if your name was Omar or Abraham or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or if you were Muslim, nobody cared. Also, our rights were stripped away. And an ongoing war that's still happening. I mean, we're still going to Iran now, and it's horrible what's going on over there. And all for what, right? The American war machine or whatever. I think it's all pretty like spiritual. Yeah, man. If you continue like killing on Earth, then it keeps the vibration low.
Yeah, man. Just feeds a monster, you know. That's what it does.
Yeah, exactly.
But you were talking about the jet fuel thing, right? I'm sorry I cut you off. Sometimes I just have thoughts and I just kind of, like to kind of go with that. But you were talking about the jet fuels and thing, how they kept pushing it, right? What can you say about that? Why do you think they kept pushing that? You know, is it because of the whole chemtrail that they wanted to push that agenda, you think, in your opinion?
Yeah, it seems like that they were trying to brainwash the public into blindly accepting that these lines, because the lines in the sky really picked up around then too, which is, I mean, there's actually a program called the Tropospheric Aerosol Program through the Department of Energy, and this was launched in 2001, right before 9/11. And what it is it's basically a full-on chemtrail program through the Department of Energy, and they have a whole fleet of planes and drones, and they spray these chemicals in the sky. To create, to experiment creating artificial clouds and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's all, to control the masses, it's pretty simple. Like you use what you have, which is the media, Hollywood, and social media, basically, the internet and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
that's a big part. Yeah, it's the media,
It really is. So I was thinking about the chemtrails and all of it recently, because not that many people know about this yet, but people do know about some things like Monsanto and GMO foods. It's more common knowledge, like non-GMO verified is like
I think that's been a thing for, I want to say the last 10 years now that I've been hearing that stuff, like more right. Organic, non-GMO, free roam chickens and stuff like that, kind of like better for you and your body.
How did that happen, right? Yeah, so I was thinking about that, analyzing that, and how we got to where we're at with that. So activists got involved. There was a march against Monsanto, and March Against Monsanto was every May, every year, every major city for like a decade at least, maybe even 20 years. So activists got really loud and made it known that GMO foods were bad and that that people should have choice and know what they are, right? Yeah. That they should know what Monsanto is doing. And, the pressure was put on and a lot of people got involved. I mean, think about that. March Against Monsanto was in basically every North American city, every May, marching for years and years and years. And then finally we get labels and people know what organic even is and all that sort of stuff. But activists had to get really loud. in the chemtrail world, it's not like that. Like there's not that much pressure. There's not that many protests, and it's just early in the game. Basically,
Yeah.
I feel like that if people knew what was going on, then it would snowball. But everyone's pretty quiet about it, and it's been controlled. I mean, it's controlled to the point that, like, if you look at the cartoons, like it's in the cartoons where people, like, it's in the cartoons where they're like painted in, so they're like programmed to think that it's normal.
Yeah.
But also, like, all throughout media is this ridicule psychology. It's like peer ridicule, like playground tactics where you're like making fun of people.
Yeah.
Ridicule psychology is embedded throughout American culture, or like, you know, the whole Western world. And what it is if you're not thinking like your peers, you get shamed. And so it's this group think, kind of herd mentality, and people don't want to think that their government would be spending trillions of dollars to freaking poison them and control the weather and to create these, you know, horrific storms and whatnot, only to, you know, get control of all this. Because now what they're trying to do is make problems like Hurricane Katrina, wildfires, you know, that are all crazy, the Maui thing, all that sort of stuff. They make these crazy events so that they can fear us into believing that they need to control the weather through geoengineering.
Yeah, this is
and
our
hand over the keys. Basically.
This is the answer right here. We have the answer, right?
Right.
You know, right? Do you feel like that has
exactly.
anything to do with the effect of how people are reacting? Like, you see all this hostility in this world, all this evil, right? Posted, people killing each other, you know, anywhere and everywhere. Do you feel like that has, you know, those aerosols being sprayed has a negative impact in our psyche, almost like our mental, our mind?
Well, yeah. Well, there's all sorts of constituents in the sprays. So for one, there's frequency control through the metallics. So the metallic aerosols are sprayed. They'll spray nickel, cadmium, barium, aluminum, strontium. These things are mixed together, charged different ways, and then zapped with intersecting radio waves, and different frequencies are added, like basically to create heat, high pressure, to manipulate weather, but they can also dictate the frequency at the ground level in conjunction with like the frequency off of smart meters and all sorts of stuff like that. So that is like a partial answer to your question. But there was an activist by the name of Dick Gregory, and he lived in New York.
Yes.
And he said that they would they would spray manganese.
Wow.
So the chemtrail planes would come, spray low manganese over the hood in New York, and people would just start fighting. So they have manganese makes you violent. If you live near a manganese mine, there's like crazy amounts of violence in your town or whatever in the manganese mines, and like it's been documented, like scientifically proven that being around this chemical makes you violent. So come to find out, that's like what mad cow disease was supposedly, is spraying manganese from the chemtrails of the cows. And yeah, there's different chemicals that can literally dictate the behavior of humans, and also frequency. I mean, like people, you've been like clicking on your Facebook, you know, your smartphone, you've been giving it little smiley faces and sad faces while looking at the phone, and it's been picking all this data up on how your eyes and iris and how you know, it knows how you feel, and it can literally, like, I know this sounds a little out there, but these phones can emit a frequency and show you certain stuff and get you to feel a certain way. Like if there's different frequency means of dictating people's like energy, not just with the chemtrails, but in conjunction with the chemtrails probably too. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on. I think it's a frequency war altogether, really.
Yeah.
Through control, like you can't control people that are inspired and hopeful. So you keep them in a low vibration, and then you can control them. You know what I mean?
I feel also that we are all frequencies, right? We have frequencies within us. So what actually got me to contact you also was you put out a video, and I think you were near like a Whole Foods, right? This is how I found you, right? I was like, man, what is this? This is interesting. I started looking at the video, like, check this out. And you started using this device, right? I don't know what it's called. EMF maybe or something like that. and you started reading the frequencies of radiation, right, or something that was emitting around the area. Can you elaborate on that and kind of talk to us about that? Like, what was your experiment? What were you doing with that?
Yeah, this was like right when 5G started getting rolled out, but since then, so many more towers have been put up and small cell networks to have 5G networks around. So there's a lot of little cell towers everywhere nowadays, and these things are putting off crazy amounts of EMF radiation, right?
That's crazy.
So people are like, "What's the safe level of EMF radiation?" Each country has their limits of what's safe, and so if you go to Italy, or Germany, or China, or Russia, they have a low standard. Like the levels over here would be toxic. Like they wouldn't be allowed over there, right? But over here, they're not regulated as much, and literally the safety standards are like 100 times and even 1,000 times higher. Like worse. You know what I mean? Like they'll accept way much higher levels. So what's a safe level? People don't even like know. Like it's such a hard answer to even say what's a safe level. But the meter that I got, it has like a limit how high the radiation can go. And out front of the Whole Foods where the self tower was, I was measuring the EMF radiation, and the thing was going beyond its limit. This is like a expensive device, right? Like it's not supposed to surge past the amount that it can read.
Wow.
And it was just like going, it couldn't even read the reading. It was so high. It was just maxed out, like all in the parking lot and then inside the Whole Foods. And this is like radiation levels that would, assumably like make you infertile or sever and split, bifurcate DNA and cause your DNA to like mutate and, cause tumors and stuff like that. This is like high level of radiation coming off of this cell tower mast that was in an apartment complex next to a Whole Foods in Santa Rosa, California.
That's insane, man.
These things, people don't realize that you shouldn't be living next to these things. They end up, slowly causing insomnia and birth defects and depression issues and cancers and all these sort of things. It's just a slow kill. So people don't realize the elephant in the room. They're literally, if they're not told by their TV that that's dangerous, then they're not thinking anything of it, right? Yeah. It's like, people trust what the doctor says. It's just the way people have been and trained. You know what I mean?
And what can we do to try to prevent that? Knowing this information now for the audience, what can we do to try to prevent that from affecting our bodies, or try to limit as much radiation that comes into us or our surroundings? What can we do about that?
Well, knowledge is power, right? So to mitigate the amount of radiation that you receive, you can get yourself a little EMF meter and then see what your surroundings are. Or you can just know what emits EMF radiation and get less of it. So you got a smartphone. You don't need to sleep with that thing. I'm sorry. Like everyone's like, oh, what if Granny needs to call me in the middle of the night? Whatever it is. No, like you don't need to sleep with your smartphone. It doesn't even need to be in the room with you. You can put it on airplane mode, so you can have the alarm right there or whatever, you need to do, or put it in the other room. But the phone's emitting a lot of radiation, and to your body, it's like your body absorbs the radiation from the phone like it's light. It thinks that it's light, basically. Long story short, light and the radiation off the phone have similar properties. Wow. And your body thinks that the radiation off the phone is light. So your body absorbs it like it's light. And so your body thinks it's in like bright sunlight. So it throws off these chemical imbalances and circadian rhythms, and you don't produce the certain chemicals in the night that you need. And you slowly end up with problems that you don't realize are coming from your phone being nearby you while you're sleeping, kind of thing. So just being knowledgeable of these things and not sleeping with your phone and not sleeping with your Wi-Fi router or whatever, or unplugging your Wi-Fi router at night if you need to, if it's right there in the next room or something like that. These little things can get you in a better rhythm and a better cycle to not be impacted as much as other people. If you got to be next to a cell tower. Then you can learn about like grounding, which is like, grounding seems like super simple, and it seems like kind of a conspiracy because it's just so simple, but it's like there's dirty electricity. There's electricity all over the place. EMF radiation is just like electricity too in the air, basically. And that electromagnetic frequency radiation, that electricity, it wants to find its way out of you. It doesn't want to just bounce around back and forth with your rubber shoes. But if you don't give it anywhere to go, it's just going to bounce around and kind of fry your nervous system and cause problems. Because we're very electrical beings, even down to our cells, like
definitely.
Our brain synapses, everything. So you want to learn about grounding, which is like literally like going in nature or putting your feet and your hands in the grass or a stream or whatever. Basically, we end up with this dirty electricity. It's electricity that we end up in our bodies. And because we have rubber shoes on, the electricity doesn't have anywhere to go because it wants to go like into the earth, basically, or somewhere else, not inside of you. So you're on your phone, you're on your laptop, you're near the power lines, you're near the smart meters and the electrical outlets in your house and all this stuff, and you start building up electricity in your body. Not to mention, like, there's all these other toxins in the environment and chemtrails and all these other things like weighing you down. You don't even realize it. But just the electromagnetics, like from the cell tower, like if you live right next to a cell tower and you just are practicing like grounding, like, what you're doing there, you can mitigate the effects and not like be harmed by it because you're getting all this stuff out of you, but you have to know the information first, which, research grounding. It's called earthing or grounding. There's books and documentaries on it. It's pretty simple. You're just looking to get an electrical connection with something that's outside of you, so the electricity has somewhere else to go, because it can build up over the day. And if it doesn't have anywhere to go, then it's still inside of you, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
So I've got this whole kind of conspiracy on rubber shoes. I mean, yeah, rubber's durable and it's cool, but at the end of the day, it'd be nicer if we had something that was able to dispel the electricity into the earth, But it's these simple things are important to understand. They're put under the realm of conspiracy so that people are just, trust your doctor or whatever. But really, these things are very important for health and, living happy lives and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah, I feel like I've heard things of like walking barefoot outside or grabbing some sunlight outside, even if it's 10 minutes a day, just stand outside, grab some sunlight, ground yourself, and that might help you, with those frequencies. I wanted to get back to what you were talking about, the documentary. I just had a question. Why did you title it FrankenSkies? Why?
Oh, yeah, thanks. So, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the story of the zombie kind of guy that they bring back to life and whatever, the whole Frankenstein. Franken Foods. So earlier I was talking about how well the activists were able to get the GMO foods and bring it to the light. And now people, at least a lot of people, know about it. Like, it's pretty common knowledge. I mean, there's labels in the store. That means laws were passed. That means, it says organic or non-GMO. Like, there's all sorts of common knowledge about it. And that was great. And they used the word Frankenfood. So I was like, Frankenfood, well, if they're GMOing, genetically modifying the food, and it's kind of frankened out, then look what they're doing to the sky. They're kind of frankening out the sky by manipulating it with their, crazy experimental nut job science. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's just they're creating a monster in the sky. That's why.
Yeah, mad scientists.
Mad scientists. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about? Right. So you spoke a little bit about how we can protect ourselves from these EMF radiations and stuff. And earlier you were talking about how it's 30,000 feet in the air. There's not much we can do to I guess, protect ourselves from this. But how do you feel, and what do you think we could do to protect ourselves from those aerosols dropping down on us? Is there anything we could do at all?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's a lot that we can do. For one, keep your vibration high and don't even worry about it. I know people that don't want to go outside when they're spraying and stuff like that, and that's not going to do you any good. Like, being in fear is what you don't need. So there's two things you can do. You can detox and pull the metals out. So like the chemtrail constituents, come to find out, because people have tested the rain water and the soil and the air and their hair and the blood and matched it up with the patents for the for the aerosol deployments. So people have come to conclude that it's primarily aluminum, barium, strontium. The aluminum is wreaking havoc on people's brains. It's the number one killer now in the UK. It's the number one cause of death in the United Kingdom. Dementia and Alzheimer's, which is caused by aluminum buildup in the brain, right? So you want to get the aluminum out of the body. So there's ways to detox it. You can take supplements like silica. Silica binds to it and pulls it out, and you can get that online. Horsetail is a natural form. It's a herb that grows in sand, and it's a natural form of silica. So you can take horsetail supplements. Also spirulina and chlorella. They bind to it, and also cilantro bonds to it and pulls it out. Zeolite as well, and diatomaceous earth and bentonite clay. People use that. These things are charged in the opposite charge of the toxic heavy metals, or they encapsulate them in certain ways, or pull these out in certain ways, and those are like the go-tos. Also, of course, eating healthy and doing like saunas and just flushing your system, and activated charcoal. People like that as well.
That's great.
So there's ways to, like, it's called chelation, CHELATION. There's books on it, like, to chelate the heavy metals in your system.
Wow.
So also, if you've got metal in your mouth, like mercury in your mouth, you could find a holistic, natural doctor or dentist and get that out. And then also not consuming fluoride is important. Fluoride is put into tap water, and you can get filters and try to avoid that. Charcoal filters for your shower and whatnot. Or there's different ways to filter your tap water with reverse osmosis, different little things. And then also it's in toothpaste, and you can avoid that by just buying different brands, right? But fluoride, if you do consume it, it helps the heavy metals go into your brain. So fluoride is actually made it comes from making aluminum. It's a byproduct of smelting aluminum. So the aluminum industry, when they make aluminum, they have this toxic byproduct that they're supposed to dispose of. It's called fluoride. But through Edward Bernays, who was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, he was able to market certain things to the American public through advertising and creative marketing techniques by knowing the human psyche and sexualization, all this sort of stuff, by being Sigmund Freud's nephew. And so he introduced like tobacco as being sexy and bacon to the American breakfast plate, and introduced doctors, trust the doctors, put them in white jackets, and introduced the phrase "trust your doctor."
Wow.
And he introduced fluoride. He was able to market fluoride as something healthy. So what fluoride does, because it used to be bonded to aluminum, it's like chemically, basically it's chemically like a brother to aluminum. It's like a distant brother that got separated, like a twin. I don't know if that metaphor is great, but either way, what it does, it goes in the brain. Fluoride goes in your brain, and it pulls aluminum into your brain because they like to bond together. And then they bond together and have little chemical reactions in your brain. So you don't want the fluoride in your system. So also, you can learn about mineralization. And this is really important. So people are walking around mineral deficient. So we need like 112 minerals each day to go through our lives and have the processes in our body. Minerals like iron and calcium and, you name it, right? Magnesium,
Right.
112 minerals. So we don't get all the minerals that we need. And then when we go out in our toxic environment, we're absorbing things from our environment, trying to get the minerals that we need, because our body's like, let me get it from the water, the food, the air, or whatever.
Yeah.
So say the air has radioactive strontium in it, and on the periodic table, radioactive strontium is similar to something that we need in our bones, like calcium or something. So then we absorb the radioactive strontium into our bodies because we're deficient on calcium, but we wouldn't have absorbed it if we were up to speed on our minerals. So there's mineral supplements that you can get. I like bioavailable, like plant-based minerals. So I take this thing called Irish sea moss.
Is this stuff that we can locate on like Amazon and stuff like that?
Yeah, I get it on Amazon. On Amazon, I get this sea moss, and it's in a pill form, and it's organic, wild crafted, wild harvested, and it's got all 112 minerals in it because it's got bladderwrack and burdock. It's like how they market it is with bladderwrack, burdock, and sea moss, and so that's 2 seaweeds, burdock, and sea moss, and then bladderwrack, and then burdock is a root. So these 3 things all together have iron and everything that you need. And so then if you're taking your minerals, whatever it may be, but I like that one. It's basically like taking kelp. Got all these bioavailable minerals, meaning your body can uptake it easily. Some mineral supplements or synthetic vitamins, I don't think your body's absorbing any of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Those multivitamins.
But then, throw those in the trash, in my opinion. But then you go out in the world and they're spraying the chemtrails, and your body's not even absorbing them because you're up to speed on your minerals, right? Also, like certain things strip your body of minerals or block the mineral uptake ability, like, hate to say it, coffee, alcohol, different pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. So treating your body the best that you can.
Is tea okay?
Tea seems
Tea's
good.
okay.
What's up? What kind of tea?
Black tea, green tea, chamomile tea, with a little bit of honey.
I would say tea's okay. I mean, stay hydrated though, because caffeine and everything. But compared to coffee and all that, sometimes tea does uptake fluoride, and it's important to get a good organic sources and all that sort of stuff. I hear that a lot about tea, but I'm not gonna bash tea, man. No, because you got to live, right? Tea's
I need a little caffeine in my day. What else can I take for caffeine then? What do you think? What do you suggest for people out there that are trying to still get that energy boost during the day, but not intake too much coffee or tea? What do you suggest?
Well, for one, exercise, but I'm not trying to be that guy. I mean, I think that if you can get off the caffeine and have that natural energy, it's better than anything. I've had a struggle with the addiction of coffee. I love a cappuccino or whatever, you know what I mean? But yerba mate is something else. Yerba mate is really nice. Surprisingly, it's got a lot of different chemicals in it, not just caffeine, that make you feel good. I highly recommend trying yerba mate and even brewing your own. And there's a couple different strains of it, evidently. And also matcha. A lot of people don't know about matcha. Matcha's no joke.
Matcha.
What it is a green powder. Yeah, it's a green powder, but what they do is they get green tea and then they like cook it down and make it really, really strong into this green tea powder. And then you make a drink with it, like a matcha latte or whatever, matcha freaking drink. And it's strong. It's strong. You can get it like at a coffee shop. Some coffee shops have matcha, but it's a green powder. It's full of antioxidants and it's really, and it's a lot of caffeine. But coffee, like it's got mycotoxin molds on it, and it's black. It's not like people say, like, eat the rainbow, like different colors are good for, like this thing, like coffee it stresses your adrenals. It does a lot that you don't really realize and think, 'cause it's so socially accepted and all these sort of things. it takes a toll on me, and I've learned that it's not for me. Maybe it could be for you all, but I think that I mean, to each their own. But take care of your body best you can, and everyone's got their vices. But I think that owning your health, mentally, emotionally, physically, like your intake, like reading your ingredients. People ask me like, "Oh, what's the first thing? How did you become an activist?" And like, "What's your first?" I was like, I started reading ingredients. Like this one, like I had really bad heartburn. I was very unhealthy. I smoked Newports. I drank 40s. Like I was not a healthy person. And I had a beer belly. My friends used to be like, "When's the baby coming?" Because I had a big belly. And like, I was like, yeah, I was not healthy, in my early 20s. And I had horrible heartburn, like every night. And this one friend of mine, his sister was like, "Have you ever thought about just your diet?"
Yeah. Simple, right?
At the time I was like, "What's that?" Like at the time I was like, "You mean like what? Like worried about what I eat?" Like, which I didn't care. And she's like, "Yeah, I read the ingredients." I was like, "Read ingredients? What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, if you flip it over, the ingredients in the back." And she goes, "If I can't read it, I don't eat it."
That's a good model.
And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool, I guess." And then I started looking at things, and I was like, what is hydroxypate 90476? What is this? Am I mean this thing? It's like abbreviated with numbers and stuff. And it's like preservatives or whatever. But that was my first journey down becoming a healthier person. Now I can't even eat like certain things. I'll totally get. I mean, like I'm pretty good. My diet's pretty refined. That now the food that I used to eat like 10 years ago would make me ill.
Wow.
But that's the journey. That's the journey. And I think it's important to learn these things so that you can be healthy and not be ingesting toxins and be avoiding fluoride and knowing what you're ingesting. Just like it's a journey. Like every little bit, like you could literally. I know you just asked me about the chemtrails, but it's about your body.
Yeah.
It's like I could go to the store right now, and each thing I could just talk about each thing in the grocery store, each thing.
Wow.
Like even if it's a freaking tomato, I'd be like, even though this is organic, it got sprayed with this. You know what I'm saying? There's like everything has its thing. And even though it doesn't make you feel sick, it might be just because your body's used to it, But these things, these preservatives, they wreak havoc on your system, and they block your body from uptaking minerals. They strip your body of minerals. They overload your body with toxins. They clog up your what's it called, lymph system, all this sort of stuff. It's important to keep all this stuff flowing and trying to be healthy and honor yourself. I mean, it's a journey. So like each day it's something, you can just like each day you can just try to learn something about your body and try something different. I've learned a lot about oral health. I rinse my mouth with coconut oil every morning.
Wow.
And that's like, that pulls toxins out, and it like balances. I don't get cavities anymore because of it. It like balances the microbiome of the mouth. It, like the properties of the coconut oil, if you swish it around your mouth in the morning for like 15 minutes, it pulls out the bacteria that is bad, and it leaves the bacteria that's good, and then the good bacteria just kills the bad bacteria. So still you got bacteria in your mouth, you still got to brush your teeth, but it like it creates this balance.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. But there's just things like that. It's always this like quest for knowledge, because your doctor ain't going to tell you to eat healthy.
No,
your doctor doesn't care about those. Your doctor's not going to tell you to get sunshine either.
I think like, the doctor's plan is just to push a prescription. How do we keep the patient medicated? How do we keep them on the pill? They don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, continue. My bad. I'm going to cut you off.
No, you're right. No, please. And that's money. It's how they get. It's the whole thing. It's like they're trying to get. They just want to get paid. It seems they don't really. It's not what it used to be.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Off camera, I'm gonna just see if maybe we could talk later and just kind of run down what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I just kind of want to get a feel of how to live a healthier lifestyle when it comes to putting food in your body. So I had another question. What, in your opinion, right, knowing all these things that you know, going down all these rabbit holes and stuff like that, all these quote unquote conspiracy theories, which I think are more truthful than lies. So what, in your opinion, is the elite's end game? Like, what's their end game?
End game is transhumanism. They want, well, not for them, like they want to avoid it, but they want to make us into part like human hybrids.
Yeah.
So the end game is to have everyone upset about the fact that fertility rates are going to drop. So not as many people are going to be able to have kids, and the population is actually going to decline because of 5G and because of inoculations and because of chemtrails and other toxins. And so through that agenda, which is all planned, the populace will be convinced to adopt this transhumanism agenda, which is like try to live forever because you can't have kids, basically, and then even transfer your consciousness into a cyborg version of yourself. And that whole like digitize your consciousness and transfer it over into like a cyborg version of yourself or whatever to like keep on living. That like digitization of consciousness, it's already like happening. And that's like completely satanic. It's like an abomination of like respect for life. And it's like the opposite of like soul. Like we have a soul, and it's all like, I think it's a big spiritual battle, honestly, at the end of it all. It's like a very spiritual battle, right? And so they want, one thing is that there's like demons cast down and they don't get to have bodies. Satan doesn't get to have a body. But what they want is to convince these evil humans who are running the show, like the Illuminati or whatever, they want to push this transhumanist agenda, because when there's transfer of consciousness into cyborg like clone humans, they'll be able to transfer their, through CERN and all their evil whatever, they think that they can transfer demonic entities into like clones and have bodies finally. Wow. So they want to be able to have bodies, and I don't know, that's really out there.
No, man, but not for me, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, but also it's humanity is supposed to be evolving consciousness, and they're afraid of that. That's their biggest fear. And so to control that, they want to have people part robot, control their frequency, like literally make people metal controllable things, into material opposite of flesh, like another complete abomination, and hijack consciousness and prevent any like elevation of consciousness is what they want, I think. So that's in game. I mean, that's like down the line. Like first is smart cities and pushing people out of rural areas because they need to be in smart cities to be more controlled, but they'll say they have to be in smart cities because you know, it's not green to be out there, or there's some virus or whatever the fuck they're gonna scare them with. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's crazy, man. Wow, that's very well put, man. I definitely, just with your mindset, man, and wherever you, with everything that your mind's on and stuff, I feel like my mind's on the same page, man. I definitely got to have you on, besides this episode, to have you on and talk about further details on rabbit holes and stuff like that. Matt, any final words before we close out this episode? Anything you want to finalize? Anything you want to say to the audience?
And I'd be happy to talk about anything again, and we should definitely do it again sometime. And
definitely.
And thank you. Final notes to the audience is don't be afraid to use your voice. It's like people get so caught up thinking that they're alone in the way they think, and you never know. Like, you've been programmed to not even get to know your neighbor. They could be on the same page as you. They could be literally watching the same documentary as you across the street. Wow. You're just afraid to talk to them about it. You know what I mean? And there's not going to be what you think. You think you're going to bring up some topic and they're going to all of a sudden put you in some box and talk about you behind your back. It's not like that.
And even if they
like,
do,
who cares? Don't be afraid of what everyone else thinks. Be proud of the truth. Honor the truth with integrity, because in this empire of lies and falsehoods, we need you. Yeah. Like, we need you, and your voice is important. You want to tell yourself that your voice doesn't matter, that you can't make a difference. Yo, you're you could be the next Malcolm X. Your neighbor could be the next Malcolm X, and they just need you to light that fire under the ass. And it's up to you to hand them that documentary or point them in the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, like there's people that are our role models, but they started from simple lives and they weren't even there at one point. I mean, like, think about it. Like, there's like, I mean, for instance, I look up to myself. Sorry, but I'm just going to say, I look up to myself. And there was a point where I didn't know anything about chemtrails. Yeah. You know, there was a point where this was totally nothing to me. And then someone planted a little seed by telling me to look it up and look at the skies. And they were like, Matt, you don't know about that. You should look it up. And I looked it up. And that was it. And they planted that little seed. And so either you can be the seed planter or the seed grower or whatever you want to be, but play your part and don't be afraid of using your voice. Cause like, you know, like every journey starts with one step. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, man.
So I appreciate you having me on and having the courage to have your own show, you know?
Yeah, man. You know, something that I've been thinking about for a while, and I appreciate you for being a guest on the show. Matt, one last time, can you tell people where they can find you and your work, please?
Yeah, please, Matt Landman on Facebook, actualactivists.com and Actual Activists on Instagram, and then Sparrow, SPERO, Sparrow Gear on Instagram, sparrowgear.com, and FrankenSkies.com. Yeah, and if you want to find FrankenSkies, you can find it at FrankenSkies.com or any of the video hosting platforms, BitChute, Odyssey, whatever, Rockfan or whatever. Just type in FrankenSkies, FrankenSkies the movie, and please give the documentary a try. Even just the first 15 minutes, it's worth sinking your teeth into. Bookmark it, share it with people. It's important to get the word out on that one. I appreciate your help.
Yeah, and I'll be putting the links in the description as well when I post it up. But Matt, I want to say thanks again for coming on the show. It's an honor to have you on, man, and just pick your brain for a little while. And thank you for everything, man. It's much appreciated. And remember, guys, to always innovate honesty and illuminate the truth. Thanks for watching. Bye. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. And remember to share the show because that's the only way that the podcast will grow. Until next time, everyone, stay safe, stay blessed, and remember to innovate honesty and always illuminate the truth. Bye.